Peace, everybody. I don't know if this is working. How's everyone doing? I'm just waiting for the link for the debate, and then we should get going soon. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know if the quality is okay, as usual. God bless you all. I mean, that's awesome. Uh, Appreciate it. No, sorry. I muted myself for a bit. What's up, JS? I can't put the chats on the screen. It's just because I'm using a different procedure right now. Hassan, I love your comment. Title should be Quran. No. Someone's saying Quran. Yes. Peace, Munshi. What's up, Jam? Mahdi? Abdullah? Zaid? Zaid Yasir. Give me 1 second, guys. How do you pray, bro? You guys ready? We're going to be asked how do we pray like 16 times. How do you wipe your butt, bro? Bum, bum, bum. Hey, fashionably late, I guess. Well, they're not late. It's like 1 minute. We're 1 minute ahead of schedule. I'll try to entertain you guys. But I have successfully learned how to wipe my butt without hadith. I'll be making a tutorial soon. How do you have intimacy with your wife? I don't. It's against the hadith to be intimate. You don't be intimate with your wife. You do so with your female slave. That's why God made them. Astaghfirullah. What's up, Asad? Salam. Astaghfirullah. Don't you know that camel urine has like 2% benefit? That's why it's a healing. That's why there's healing in camel urine. Bro, where is this? Where are these people, man? How do you do ghusl? Secret is I don't. That is true. True and enough. Guys, I'm nervous. What if we do need the hadith? Brother, can you fix your title? It's written Quran. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Esma. I think someone else mentioned it, but then they like hit it for some reason. But appreciate the people. Moon background. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Bro, how do I edit this title without hadith? Ooh, Quran. Thank you. Save. Where's Mahdi's question? Oh, so what ended up happening was I went on Grayson Brock's channel, right? Grayson. And Grayson, he like, I apparently like the apologist came to him a few times, this Muslim apologist guy. But then, excuse me. But then, yeah, what? And then he reached out to me. He was like, hey, get in touch with Grayson. I want to debate you about hadith on his channel. I'm like, bro, it's not my channel. Let me, I can ask him, but like, why don't we go on something called Modern Day Debate? So I sent a letter to James. James goes, well, look, man, like, because it's Muslim versus Muslim and my crowd is not really into that, I would need to make it a 2v2. And then in his little bit of weird style, I replied to him. I was like, yeah, man, I got a partner. No worries. 2v2. And then the other guy, he replies, Men's replies, he goes, I'll do 1 verse 2. I can take them both on. I'm like, bro, the host of that channel is asking you to do something for us to have this debate. And then he like doesn't agree. So it doesn't end up happening on Modern Day Debate. And like James just like literally forgot it, like didn't care about it. And then a little while again, I go back on Grayson's channel, and then he sends me an email saying like, okay, bro, like we could do it on my website or on my platform. I'm like, whatever you want, man. Let me just finish my travels, and I'll reach out to you. I reached out to him. I was like, I'm ready, and then he ignored me. And I said it again. I'm like, hey, man, I'm ready. And then what ends up happening? What ends up happening is he reaches out. There's a gentleman called Kov FF from the channel Kov FF. He's supposed to be the moderator, but we'll see how it turns out. I'm waiting for a link for them to let me go on. This is like supposed to be a proper way. So, oh, Munshi, bro, are you still hungry? You can drink your food. Like I bought myself one of those like food processors, and I just crush everything and I drink it. This is in fact chicken and rice. No, I don't think he's supposed to be this late, but I'll hey bro, what's going on? I sent him an email. Okay, if this guy doesn't show up, is anyone willing to come up and defend their position? SubhanAllah. I want to write something. All right, sorry guys, I'm going to turn on the air conditioning a little bit. Salam alaikum, Maroon Khalifa. Yeah, I'm gonna turn the air conditioning on, so you might hear a fan in the background for a little bit, but until Buddy Boy shows up. Salam, Zaiko. Bum 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 bum. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls a no-show. I would be a little upset because I went live, and why is it like now at this time, not replying? Like, we scheduled this. He said he was going to be available. The gentleman didn't reply. Someone sent me an email an hour ago, about an hour and 10 minutes ago. Yeah, so it's like, So yeah, he sent me an hour ago, Cove FF, saying the debate starts in an hour. I send the link soon. And that is it. Sometimes I wonder, why do people take forever? Pa 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 pa. Cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we were supposed to debate somebody, but if it's a no-show, honestly, Guru Nanak, isn't that the Sikh guy? I'm not sure. I don't know. No, it was. I got an email an hour ago saying the debate is an hour. Yeah, Arab time. Oh, there we go. I got an email. We are live now. All right, bro, but I need the link. He's saying we are live now, but I need the link. Just debate Jake, whoever, Brancatella. Unfortunately, he doesn't answer emails. He avoids us. He avoids me and Baba Schweib because he's saying we're not worth his time. Wait, Jam, I'm waiting to see because it's supposed to be streamed on my channel, so I'm waiting for them. Yeah. Is there a link you can click on their channel? No, he's supposed to be. He was supposed to show up. They're supposed to send me a link here. Abdul, he curved me too, because he saw my comment on his channel. I was like, bro, I'm ready to debate you, and then he hid my comments from his channel. He knows there's not. He made a bunch of money selling himself to the Sunnis and being an echo chamber, and now he went to a point where he's even doing takfir of other Sunnis, like him and Daniel Hakikachu started going at it, even though they appeared in the same debate on what's his name, Dave, wasn't it? Pat. Oh, there we go. We got the link. Okay, guys, give me a second while I set this up for us. Alhamdulillah Alameen, in the name of God. Okay. That's it for you, boy. Continue as Muhammad. Hello, mic check. Cool, camera, awesome. All right, you guys ready? Let's enter the studio. Got it. I can't hear them. It's because I don't have my headphones. Nope, one sec. All right, let me see if I... All right. Can you guys hear everything? Or wait, can you guys hear me twice? I don't think so. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Okay, he's happy to come on stage now. Okay, fantastic. Okay, welcome to the show. My name is Muhammad. On my right is the Muslim apologist, and below me is Muhammad also. So I don't want brothers to get confused because there are two Muhammads.
We're going to have to distinguish Muhammad 1 and Muhammad 2 or something like this, because otherwise
yeah,
will be confused.
And did you, brothers and sisters?
Muhammad?
No, it's fine. It's fine it's good to have you here, brother. I'm a very hospitable individual. I'm not one to, be negative. I'm very open to suggestions and ideas and people's views, and I respect everybody's views and opinions. So we'll kick off the show. If there's anything that you would like to say, guys, before we officially kick the show off and officially set the debate in flow, anything you brothers want to say?
I'm good. God bless the messengers. That's about it.
Okay. The Muslim apologist, anything that you would like to say?
Nothing in particular, I guess. We can go ahead once you give the green light. Yeah.
Okay. As you can see on the screen there, it was agreed amongst the two gentlemen that it will be the debate format, as you can see, is 10-minute opening statements from each debater. 20 to 30 minutes open discussion, and then 5-minute closing statements with a 20-minute Q&A from the brothers and sisters in the chat. I don't mind it going over 30 seconds or a minute. I'm not going to be really too strict on the time if that's okay with the brothers. If it goes over a minute, then I'll say, guys, you need to, slow it down. If it goes over 35 seconds or 45 seconds, it's not a problem. We can hopefully deal with that if that's okay. We
Yeah.
agreed, or the brother, the younger Muhammad agreed that the Muslim apologist will go first with his opening statements, and then the younger Muhammad will respond. Okay, so let me just set my time. Okay, as soon as you start speaking, the Muslim apologist will get the clock going.
But sorry, is it
Okay.
possible, Brother Muhammad, like if you could mute your mic when
Yeah, of
he's
course.
talking? It's just because there is a background noise. It's very slight, but
That
it's just there.
that's him. I think that is.
Is it?
I think the background noise from me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
from me. Yeah.
Sorry.
about that. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to this debate. And Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain amma ba'. So today I stand before you to argue that the hadiths are not merely a supplementary aspect of Islam, but it is an essential and inseparable part of it. To understand Islam fully, we must recognize that its practice and interpretation rely on two primary sources, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as transmitted through authentic hadith. This perspective is firmly rooted in Quranic directives, the Prophet's teachings, and centuries of scholarly tradition. Let us begin with the primary source, which is, of course, the Quran, which lays the foundation for the authority of hadith. In Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 59, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands, O you who have believed, obey Allah and obey the messenger and those in authority among you. This verse establishes a clear divine injunction. Obedience to the messenger is inseparable from obedience to Allah. The Prophet's guidance, encapsulated in his sayings, actions, and approvals, is preserved in the hadith literature. Without these records, the practical implementation of Quranic principles would remain incomplete and open to misinterpretation. Similarly, we look at Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter 33, verse 21, which states, "There has certainly been for you in the messenger of Allah an excellent pattern for anyone who hope is in Allah and the last day." Here, the Quran presents the Prophet's life as a model for conduct. But how do we access this model? It is through the hadiths that we gain detailed insights into the Prophet's actions, allowing us to emulate his example in our daily lives. The Quran provides broad principles, but it is the hadith that offers the practical details necessary for implementation. Consider the command to establish prayer, found in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 43. While the Quran emphasizes the importance of prayer, it does not specify the number of daily prayers, their timings, or how they should be performed. It is through hadith that Muslims learn the specifics, such as the 5 daily prayers, the method of ablution or wudu, and the recitations during the salah. For example, the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari describes the Prophet's methods of performing wudu step by step. Without such narrations, the uniformity and consistency of Islamic worship would be lost, leading to varied and potentially incorrect practices. This demonstrates how hadith complements the Quran, transforming abstract commands into concrete actions. Beyond ritual practices, hadiths play a pivotal role in Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh. Early scholars relied on hadith interpreting Quranic verses and deriving legal rulings on matters not explicitly detailed in the Quran. The principles of Islamic law, such as ijma or consensus and qiyas, analogical reasoning, are often grounded in the hadiths. A famous hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari states, "Whoever introduces into this affair of ours something that is not part of it, it will be rejected." This narration underscores the importance of adhering strictly to the Prophet's teachings, ensuring that innovations do not distort the original practice of Islam. It also highlights the role of hadith as a safeguard, preserving the purity and authenticity of Islamic teachings. Some critics may argue that the existence of weak or fabricated hadiths undermine the reliability of hadith literature. However, Islamic scholarship has developed rigorous methodologies to address this concern. Scholars like Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim dedicated their lives to compiling collections of authentic hadiths, employing stringent criteria to evaluate the isnad or chain of transmission and the credibility of narrators in Kitab al-Rijal, for example. This meticulous process ensures that only reliable narrations are accepted as sources of guidance. Moreover, the diversity of hadith collections allow scholars to cross-reference narrations, further strengthening their authenticity. Thus, the hadith literature stands as a trustworthy and integral part of Islamic tradition. Hadith is not limited to just legal and ritual matters. It also provides profound moral and ethical lessons. The Prophet's interactions with people from all walks of life, whether children, the poor, or even his adversaries, demonstrate values such as compassion, humility, and justice. For instance, numerous hadiths recount the Prophet's kindness to children, his forgiveness of enemies, and his emphasis on caring for neighbors and the less fortunate. A striking example is found in Surah Abasa, chapter 80, verse 1 to 10, where Allah says, "He frowned and turned away." Without the context, this verse might be understood as criticism of the Prophet's character. However, hadiths explain what this verse was about. It was revealed in connection with an incident involving a blind man by the name of Ibn Maktum. The Prophet's momentary distraction was followed by remorse and a reaffirmation of his commitment to equality and compassion. This context provided by hadith enriches our understanding of the Quran and highlights the Prophet's exemplary character. Finally, the dynamic nature of hadith interpretation ensures that Islamic thought remains relevant across time and cultures. While the Quran is immutable, the hadith provides a flexible framework for addressing new challenges. Contemporary scholars use hadiths to address modern issues such as bioethics, environmental conservation, and social justice. This adaptability shows the enduring relevance of the Prophet's teachings. In conclusion, hadiths are an essential and inseparable part of Islam. They provide the practical, ethical, and legal guidance necessary to implement the Quranic teachings in daily life. By upholding the importance of hadith, we honor the legacy of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ensure that Islamic practice remains rooted in a comprehensive and coherent tradition. The Quran and Hadith together form the foundation of Islam, guiding Muslims to both faith and practice. Thank you for your attention, and may Allah grant us the wisdom to understand and uphold His guidance. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, the Muslim apologist, that was just under 8 minutes. If you want to continue for another 2 minutes, or are you happy to pass those minutes off? And
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. I mean, it's
Okay.
all right. Yeah.
Okay. Initially, when I opened the show, I kind of said a statement, and I was wrong in the statement. The statement is from Asul al-Sunnah, Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal's book, Asul al-Sunnah, the Foundations of the Sunnah. And the first statement of Imam Ahmed is that the Sunnah is Islam, and without the Sunnah, there is no Islam. So that's how important the Sunnah is within the creed of the Muslim belief. So that was I wanted to correct that statement. That's from the opening chapter of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's book Asul Sunnah. I just wanted to clarify that. So, Muhammad, I will bring you onto the main stage, and as soon as you start speaking, I will start the clock. Okay. Okay, there you are.
Peace. Thank you very much for hosting me. Peace be upon everybody. Peace upon all the messengers. And well, Islam actually existed before the Quran. This is something that we all know. God in the Quran tells us clearly that we should be following the creed and the mentality of Abraham. And that was even inspired to the Prophet. So the Prophet himself was told, and then we inspire to you, O Prophet Muhammad, to follow the creed of Abraham. So from the people who understood what Islam is, Abraham was the closest to understanding it and fulfilling it. Now, if you look at the Quran, there are many, many verses where the Quran says that it's complete, that it's concise, and it has everything that you need for guidance. So, for example, in chapter 1689, God says, "We have revealed the book to you as a clarification for all things, and as a guidance and a mercy, and good news for the submitters." And God also says in chapter 2 that that God sends that the humans were one nation, and then God sent the prophets in truth and brought down the books with them so that he could judge between the people what they used to differ in. So God sends the book to the prophets so that the people can be able to judge when there's a difference. So for example, now I'm saying that the Quran is complete and sufficient for guidance, while this gentleman is saying that the Quran is actually telling you that the Quran cannot be complete unless you look for an outside source that was recorded by other people, that the Quran standalone is not sufficient for you to find salvation on the Day of Judgment. So in chapter 6, 114 of the Quran, God says, "So shall I seek judge other than God, while he is the one who has revealed to you the book explained in detail, and those to whom we have given the book know that it has been revealed from your Lord in truth. So do not be of the doubters." So the book is the one that is revealing the truth. Because if you go again in the if you go to page, and if you go to chapter 5, God says that people of the book, our messenger has come to you to clarify much of what you used to conceal of what? Of the book. While overlooking much, there has come to you from God a light and a clear book, by which God guides those who follow his approvals to the way of peace and brings them out of darknesses into the light by his permission and guides them to the straight path. So with the book that God has sent on his blessed prophet Muhammad, this book is the entity that will guide us to the straight path on how to treat each other. So we're saying things like Islam is based upon the Quran and the Hadith, and that is how you achieve Islam, and this is how we practice Islam, where God is telling you Islam is the submission, you're submitting your will to God. So God is the one who's dictating your reality. You put God as your Lord, and God gives you all the details on what you need to do to achieve a life that is meaningful, between a relationship between you and God, and making this world a better place for everybody around you. Unfortunately, when we're going to get to it, the hadith is not very concise as what the Quran says in regards to what needs to be done. So God also says that in chapter 41:3, God says it's a book whose verses have been elaborated, reading for people who know. Elaborated means the verses have been clarified within the book itself, because God is also telling us in chapter 12:111, there is certainly a lesson in their story for the people, the prophets and the people that God has mentioned in the book. There's certainly a lesson in the story for those of intelligence. It was not a fabricated discourse, but a confirmation of what was before it, i.e. the book, and an elaboration for all things, and a guidance and a mercy for people who believe. Okay, so the book itself is a elaboration of all things. So if they're saying the book requires elaboration and their hadith is elaborating the Quran, so who's elaborating the hadith? They put their hands on the scholars and say the scholars is going to tell you exactly what you need to believe and what not to believe. When God says that the Quran itself, one, is the guidance, and that God himself will teach you the Quran if you ponder about it. But yet using your logic and reasons in the Sunni religion is something that's frowned upon. And God says that if you are not pondering on the Quran, and if you're not reflecting it and finding yourself a place in the Quran and how the people are around you, you're not going to find the guidance. You're just following blindly what your forefathers have been doing. And then there's also God says that in chapter 752, and we have certainly brought them a book which we have detailed by knowledge as guidance and a mercy for people who believe. Now, for us, as people who follow the Quran, God told us that it's complete. It has everything, and it's an elaboration to all things. It's a clarification to all things, of course, when it comes to your guidance in your religion. And God clearly says something that is very concise to how we know that it's from God. God says in chapter 482, do they not contemplate the Quran? And has it been from other than God, they would have found numerous contradictions therein. So God is saying that if something is claiming that it's a revelation from God and you found many contradictions within it, then how can it be from God? Because God is not going to contradict himself. But then now when we go to just Sahih Hadith, the things that they love to say that it's also revelation from God and therefore you have to go, there are many numerical inconsistency. So for example, some hadiths in regards to the Prophet having sex with all his wives in a single night or with a single bath, that was done by either 9 wives or 11 wives. Yet these matters of trying to keep your privacy between you and your wives, no, the people are going out and telling that the Prophet is spending most of his nights having sex with his wives, when God in the Quran says that God knows that the Prophet was staying a half, a third, or 2/3 of the night. And then we get to even bigger contradictions. So in book 60 of Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet walked in the Kaaba and he saw a picture of Ismail and Abraham. And he was really upset that people were putting pictures in the Kaaba. But in the hadith literally next to it, the Prophet doesn't walk in the Kaaba, but he refused to walk in because he saw a picture of Abraham and Mary. These are things that are called contradictions. I understand people are apologists, but when it comes to revelation of God, you're not going to find this in the Quran. These are things that are not coming from God. These are things coming from other people's words. Now, when it comes down to the concepts of where Bukhari found his hadith and all the other nonsense that people like to say that it's from God, there is no Quran where we're going to say like this is a weak verse or this is a strong verse or an authentic verse. Bukhari memorized 600,000 hadith and he only gave you 7,000 hadith. So 99% of it was not deemed worthy of him to say that this is authentic hadith. So the amount of lying that was happening in regards to all the other books was something that is not credible. Now, when we come down just to the basics of the Quran, God in the Quran says divorce is twice. The hadith says it's 3 times. When it comes down to dealing with adulterers, you're supposed to lash them in the Quran. These people tell you have to stone them. And right now, the Muslim apologist gave you a hadith. He goes, and he misquoted it. He goes, if someone is judging by what is not found with us, then we reject it. But the hadith says it's like whoever is judging with laws outside of the book of God, don't take it. That's the actual hadith. It's saying that if you find laws outside of the book of God, you shouldn't accept it. So things like banning gold, banning silk, banning wearing red is haram, not eating certain foods when God detailed in the Quran what is forbidden to you, adding things to the religion as a whole and saying that if you do not perform these certain things and talk in the way that we're telling you to talk, then you're going to hell. In fact, in hadith in the Sahih that they follow, there's many hadiths that says that anyone who says La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, then these individuals, who are not very good people, they will burn in hell for a little bit and then they are casted to heaven. Muhammad himself will rescue them from heaven, even though God says وَمَا أَنْتَ, you are not going to save whoever is in hell. But that's not the bad part. In chapter 3, God clearly states that, did you see the people who were given a portion of the book and they were told to come judge what's in the book, yet they turn away. Why do they turn away? Because they say that the fire will not touch us except a few days, right? Yaman ma'dudat, a few days. And because they say this, right? One, they're lying about God. It's not the truth. Whoever goes in hell, they're in it forever. But they are making lies upon God and then they're associating it to the Prophet. Now, They say that Prophet is the best human being that ever lived, and you can ask the Muslim apologists later. But yet in Hadith, it shows that Abraham is better than him. It shows that Jonas is better than him. It shows that Joseph is better than him. It says, do not say that he's better than Moses. So there's all these hadiths that they themselves don't adhere, because unfortunately, what their religion fell into is idolatry. They idolize the Prophet. They don't follow the Prophet, because if you're going to follow the Prophet, you have to follow his mentality and his worldview. His worldview is detailed in the Quran. When you try to understand the Quran and ponder the Quran, and you become a walking Quran like they associate the Prophet to, then you know what you need to do. God told us in the book many times that he brought the book down to the Prophet so that we could judge with it, not with and sufficient is God. Yet to them that's not sufficient, even though one of the verses in the Quran goes, isn't sufficient for them that we brought down the Quran to you, recited to you in truth. They say no, it's not sufficient. We need the Quran and we need something else. And this is my 10 minutes.
Okay, that was the opening 10 minutes from each debater. Let me just remind you of the format again. We've gone through the first stage of 10 minutes, as you can see, opening statements. The next will be 20 to 30 minutes open discussion between two interlocutors. And then, of course, towards the end, we'll have a Q&A. So please stay tuned. I will be putting the link in the chat for everybody to join in and ask questions. Again, I've got to correct myself, brothers and sisters. The narration was not from Imam Ahmed. It was actually from Imam Barbahari. I'lamu inna al-Islam huwa sunnah wa sunnati hiya al-Islam. Let me quickly translate that. Imam Barbahari say, rahimahullah ta'ala, know that Islam is the sunnah and the sunnah is Islam, and one of them cannot be established without the other.
Okay.
I initially said it was
brother, you're the moderator. I don't understand why you're giving a lesson about sunnah. And literally, we're talking about the book is judging, and you're telling me about names that have nothing to do with the debate, nor does it have to do with anything. So I'm not sure if this is a valid point for you to correct yourself. Maybe you should do it after the debate.
Thank you, brother, for your statement. Don't get agitated, brother. Before you came on live, I was just talking with the brother, and I made a statement, and it was a wrong statement. So I don't want the brothers and sisters to go look for this statement from a particular book and it's not there. So I wanted to correct myself. I think as Muslims, I'm sure you agree that if you say something and you say it incorrect, you want to correct yourself because you don't want to misguide people.
I do, but I think there is a proper place for you to correct yourself, not in the middle of a debate.
Well, this is my place. This is my place.
But you're moderating a debate between me and him.
Yeah, anyway, but this is my place.
Sure.
This is my place.
Very just.
Thank you.
Very just.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Brother, you have 20 to 30 minutes now, open discussion. Feel free. I'm going to kind of like drop down and become a smaller person. So there you go, guys. I'll start the clock. And who wants to go first?
Well, I mean,
Sure.
the brother here, he said that there's a good example in the Prophet, and therefore now we need to look at other material for us to understand the good pattern that was in the Prophet when he said 33:21. But the exact same thing was said about Abraham in chapter 60, verse 4. God says that there was a good pattern in Abraham. You could shake your head, but you can go look at the verse as well. So I know we have a good pattern in the Prophet because we see how the Prophet was thinking in the Quran, but it's as God says that the closest to Abraham are the people who followed Abraham and this prophet, meaning Prophet Muhammad, and the believers. So we're trying to understand the creed of Abraham.
Yeah. So how do you define the creed of Abraham without the hadith? What is your definition of the creed of Abraham?
Abraham's worldview and the way that he approached his Lord and the way that he had a relationship with his Lord, which is completely detailed in the Quran. But that doesn't change the fact when you were also talking about 4:59, you're saying obey God and obey the messenger, and therefore obey God is the Quran and obey the messenger is the hadith at that point?
Yes, it means that obeying Allah means basically it means the Quran, and obeying the messenger. How do you obey the messenger without understanding his actions, his words, his deeds? That is all recorded in the hadith.
But
so
then
basically it's to follow Sunnah. Yeah.
Why? Well, that's your interpretation. But if you look at the Quran, it dispels what you're saying. Because if you're saying that the
Yeah.
Quran is the word of God and the Hadith is the word of the Prophet, so why does in chapter 69, verse 40, it says it is the word, it being the Quran, it is the word of an honorable messenger, and it is not the word of a poet. So God is clearly attributing the word of God that is coming down on Prophet Muhammad to the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. So if I want to know what Prophet Muhammad was preaching and what he was saying to people, I would look at the Quran. It is a book from God, but it's the book of Muhammad, and I can prove it because God says, وَمِن قَبْلِهِ كِتَابُ مُوسَى. So he goes before it, the book of Moses. This is in chapter, believe. So why is God, 46:16? God is saying that he sent a book to Moses, and he called it the book of Moses. So God sent a book to
because it was-
Muhammad, and that's the
because-
book of Muhammad.
Yeah, because it was sent to Moses, and the Quran was sent to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So of course it's the book of Muhammad, but
Perfect.
it's not the word. It's not the word of Muhammad. It's
But
the
it
word of
says
God.
it is a word of an honorable messenger. It's not saying it's the word of
Yeah.
God, which it does come
Yes,
from God, but
it
it's
was-
the word of an
yes,
honorable
it-
messenger.
That is why you need to. That is why you need to refer to the Sirah. What is the context of that verse being revealed? It was in response to the Kuffar, the Quraysh, the pagan Quraysh, who were accusing the Prophet of coming out with words on his own. So the Quran is actually defending the Prophet by
wait,
saying
but-
that it's the words of the honorable man.
Okay,
That's
so
what it's saying. That's what it's saying. It's not saying that the Quran is basically one and the same with the Prophet or anything of the sort. That details are found only in the Quran. It doesn't has any relation to do. No real relation with the Sunnah.
okay,
Yeah.
but when God is attributing, so God is attributing the word back to the prophet, and now you're saying that it's not also the word of an honorable messenger. That this is
It is the word of an honorable messenger. That's
okay.
not-
So
that's-
if I
that's
want to
the whole
find the
point.
word of an honorable messenger, where do I find it?
You have to find it in the Hadith as well.
But
not
God
the
just
Quran.
literally said it's
Yeah.
the Quran. No. I'm asking just about this verse. It's saying it's a word of an honorable messenger. So where do I find this
Yes.
word? Because it's
That
saying
is why
it's
you need to look into it.
It's a single. It's not do.
Yes.
Nowhere does God talk
Yeah,
about
I
two
think
revelations. in the
you're
Quran.
conflating things because you see
Oh.
this is a specific context where it talks about where it's referring to an incident involving the Prophet and in opposition to his opponents from the pagan Quraysh.
Mm-hmm.
So this particular verse has nothing whatsoever to do about the Sunnah in general. It's basically defending the Prophet from the accusations. That's all it means. Yeah, nothing more than that.
So you did say that the Quran doesn't talk about the timings of the prayer. Is that something that you said?
Yes, definitely.
So
Yeah,
when God says in chapter
there's no
11,
specific timing. Yeah,
when God
there's no
says in,
specific timing.
there is
Yeah.
specific timing. When God is saying in the chapter 11, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ, so perform the prayer at the two ends of the day, and then He clarifies it in chapter 17 when God says وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَى غَسَقِ اللَّيْلِ. So perform the prayer from the setting of the sun to the twilight of the night, وَقُرْآنِ الْفَجْرِ, and the recitation of the morning or Fajr. So these are two timings that are specifically announced in the Quran, which you yourself you do. Because you said you have 5 salahs, but just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
when you're praying in congregations, which salahs do you say out loud and which ones do you not say out loud?
That is why I follow the messenger. That's what the messenger has taught me. You see?
But I
So,
understand
yeah.
you attribute it to the messenger, just like how Christians attribute that Jesus said to them that he's a son of God. We know that's false. So this is you
I
saying
think that's totally different. That's a
it
totally
isn't
different
different.
thing.
It isn't different
entirely,
because
yeah.
they also
Yeah.
blame their
Yeah.
scholars and whatnot. But you didn't answer my question. When you guys are praying your 5 prayers, how many prayers do you say out loud in a congregation, and how many are you silent?
Let's see. Zuhur, Asr. Yeah, 2. Yeah.
So 2 of them are silent, and 3 of them you say out loud. Now, God in
Yes.
chapter 17, at the end of chapter 17, God is saying, do not be loud, very loud in your prayer, and do not be silent in your prayer, but find the middle path. So you guys do that for the 2 ends of the day, as God says, the Fajr and Maghrib. So that's exactly how God said it in the Quran. And the
Yeah,
other
that
2 times you
particular
guys are
verse-
quiet. That's not a prayer at that point, is it?
Yeah, that particular verse is not about the salah. It's about it. So Allah
It's about what?
Ta'ala came with the revelation saying that do not recite the prayer too loud. Yeah.
Okay, so
an
God is
incident
saying
involving
to
the
not
Sahaba who
recite
were
the.
reading their recitation too loud.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
This
do
is
not
again. This is also in the Sirah. This is also in
No,
the
no, no.
Hadith.
This is just an
Yeah.
interpretation. We can see it as it is in this day and age. God is
Yeah.
telling you, do not be loud and do not be soft. So why are you guys being silent in two prayers when now you're not in a point of danger? Now you're saying that the reason this verse appeared because people used to insult the Quran. Now nobody's insulting the Quran and there
Okay.
is no kuffar Quraysh,
I'm
but you
not,
guys
I'm
are
not
still
saying
silent in
I,
two prayers. Why? Where does that
I
come from?
I didn't say anything about insulting the Quran. I'm saying that this was a specific incident involving the Sahaba who were reading the Quran too loud in the masjid, which disturbed
Oh, can you show me that
the
source? Because
congregation
that's not what it
at the
says.
time. I don't recall the specific hadith, but you can look it up.
No,
Yeah.
I did look
It's
it up.
somewhere
What
in-
you're saying is accurate.
Yeah.
This is just your own interpretation, but God did not reveal that verse
It
because
is
of
it
that.
is in the hadith sources.
No,
yeah.
no, no. You have to bring
It
it
is in
because actually in your own books, the reason there was two reasons why this verse came down.
Yeah, I'm
because
gonna have to dig.
there's
I'm
a
gonna
there's
have
a
to
difference in interpretation.
yeah.
It's saying that the prophet, when he used to pray, he used to be allowed, and the people used to insult the prophet and insult the Quran. So God revealed his verse, so he doesn't become way too loud and not to be soft and only for the people to hear him. That is one interpretation. And then the second interpretation, they're saying that this is not even about prayer, this is about dua. And then Abu Ja'far al-Tabari, he's saying it's more concise with in regards to the prayer. But the interpretation you gave was not actually part of anybody's way of viewing it. But that's the problem with
I'm going to
Sunnis.
have to look it up later. Yeah.
Yeah, so you
I'm
were
going to have to
incorrect
look
there.
it up later. But my point is that you still need to refer to the Sunnah, to the Sirah, to the Hadith.
Can you provide me a verse
understand
where it
what
says that I
doesn't-
have to refer to something else? Because you have yet to show me a verse where it's telling me that I have to.
I've already given the verse, which is basically in
Oh, okay.
where was it?
So you said
Yeah,
verse
Surah An-Nisa,
459, right? Nisa, right? Obey God
Yes,
and obey
that's
the
right.
messenger
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
people of authority.
Essentially, that's the
Then
yeah.
can you
Yes.
if and God finish the verse because it says, and if you differed in something, then refer back to God and refer to the messenger, correct? If you differed, because
I'm
it
not
says
differing in anything.
it's saying that if you differed
not
something
differing.
in between us and the people of the authority, in between each other, to refer it back to God and the messenger, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
people went to the
sure.
messenger and they differed about something, is he going to judge from his own whims, or is he going to judge from hadith, or what is he going to judge from?
Of course, he's going to judge. Of course, he's going to judge based on the Quran, obviously. and
Okay,
on
then,
his-
so
on
if
what he
somebody
has.
comes to me and I'm following the example of the prophet, if someone comes to me, I'm not going to use any other book to judge between us. Because God clearly tells us in the Quran that it's complete for all situations. So if someone is coming to me and say that, like, hey, man, I'm really upset at my parents, and I'm always fighting with my parents. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, this is what Bukhari said, and on this guy, upon this guy, and upon this guy, and upon this guy, and give them something
That's
that's
not way-
close to
that's
what the
not
Quran
what-
says, but I can just say what the Quran says. Be kind to them,
Yeah.
and do not obey them if they're telling you to do something that is idolatry or associating to God, and be
That's
kind
not
to
the
them.
terminology we use when we refer to the hadith. We don't say Bukhari says so. We say the Prophet says so. So
Sahih
again, you're conflating
al-Bukhari,
evidence.
you're
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah, you're
references from
conflating
Sahih
things again.
al-Bukhari.
Yeah.
Okay, so is he not
Yeah,
part of the
not
Sanad?
only Sahih Bukhari, but Muslim, Tabari. I mean, sorry, not Tabari.
Is
Abu
Bukhari
Dawud,
part of the
Sunan Abu
Sanad or
Dawud.
not?
Yeah.
When you're giving
Sorry,
the
what
chain,
was your question?
okay, so you know in the chain of Sahih Bukhari, this is what makes it Sahih. It's not about the content, it's the chain.
Yeah.
Is Bukhari part of the
Yes,
chain or
Isnad,
not?
Yeah, definitely.
So if he's part of the
No,
chain, so,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Bukhari heard
Yeah.
it from somebody who heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody who the Prophet said. But then you have in Sahih Bukhari, Aisha saying that whoever says that the Prophet peed standing up, he's a liar. And then Abu Huraira says that I saw the Prophet peeing sitting down, standing up. So is Abu Huraira a liar now?
I need to find that hadith. I haven't heard of that hadith before.
Well, that's
one that
the
you quoted
problem
from
with
Abu Huraira.
Sunnism. That's the thing. So they forsake the Quran, right? They follow what the scholars are teaching them. Yet the majority of them, just like Christians, have not read the book that they say they believe in. The amount of Sunnis that I found actually believing in Sahih Hadith or whatever, they have never sat and read it. Because if you read it, you find the amount of contradictions. You really need to be a special kind of human being to disregard everything that God said just to believe in this nonsense.
Sure.
that they attribute back
we're
to
not
the
saying
Prophet.
that we're not saying the hadiths are infallible or it doesn't have any weaknesses.
But the
is why we have
Quran
the
is.
Isnad, and that is why we have the collections. I mean, the scholars of hadith who go through these hadiths and grade them.
Scholars of
Okay?
Hadith.
Yeah,
So
so-
Hafs,
so-
Hafs,
yeah,
you know who
so-
Hafs is? Hafs an
yeah.
Asim? Who is he?
Yes, he's a reciter.
Reciter of the,
Reciter of the
he's
Hafs.
the recitation of
Qiraat,
Hafs and Asim is the most
Yeah.
popular currently
Yeah.
in the world, correct?
Yes, yes.
And
of
he,
course,
obviously his memory is extremely well, correct?
yeah, of course.
So
yeah.
why is he deemed as a weak hadith narrator? Why do they not take hadith from Hafs and Asim?
No, I'm not sure about this. I need to look
So
it up.
I
right?
think you came
Yeah.
to this debate unprepared because the Sunni you follow, the Sunnism you follow is what you see on the internet and what you see your scholars are telling you. But when you look at the material, you see a lot of weird things, and then they try to do apologetics. Like there's two
Yeah, that
verses
is not
missing
my
in the
concern.
Quran, right? There's
Yeah.
there's two verses missing in the
No,
Quran.
there
As
isn't
per
any.
Sahih
No.
Hadith, there's a verse about stoning that's
No.
not in the Quran, and there's a verse about 5
there is.
suckles or 10 suckles. Where's the stone about? Please provide your evidence. Show me the
Yeah,
the
I
verses
think
about
you're
stoning.
you're twisting that interpretation of that.
Where's the
particular
verse about
report.
stoning the adulterer
Yeah,
in the Quran?
yeah.
I'll wait.
There isn't any.
Okay, then what? But
There
the
isn't any.
hadith, the
Yeah.
hadith clearly says, Omar says that there is a verse
Yeah, it was
that we used
edited
to
out.
recite
Yeah.
that now is no longer in the Quran, but we
Yeah.
still recited the
It
verse.
was edited out. Yeah, you're using an argument which the Christians love to use. So
Okay,
yeah.
but
So
the-
how
no.
does that?
Listen, it
How
doesn't-
does that? How does that justify your position? That,
Because the truth
that
is the
Quran
truth. It
wrong?
doesn't matter who says it. I'm not giving you Christian apologetics. I'm telling you something that's wrong in the
Yeah.
hadith. Because
You are
what
using
you're
an argument which Christian apologists use.
well,
So
the
how does
Christians
that
are right
prove
there.
that the Quran is
The
perfect?
Christians are right there. It's not in the Quran. So
So
why are
you're
you
telling me
doing
that the
it?
Quran is not perfect now.
No.
So
The
you're telling me
Quran
the
is
Quran
complete. I'm not the one who's saying there's a verse about stoning. You're the one who's saying that. I'm not the one who's saying it.
I have
I'm not
no
making
problems
that
with the
claim.
verse because
If
I
a
have
Christian
no
comes to
problems with the
me,
verse being not available in the Quran.
well, that's your
because
problem.
that
Then
particular
God says
report is-
that there is no
It's not a
falsehood.
problem because
Oh.
clearly the verse was edited out by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so everyone has forgotten about it. In fact, there's a hadith where Aisha says the verse on they
Suckling.
couldn't find the text of yes, of the suckling.
Yeah,
and-
but even in
and
that
the
hadith,
goat
it says
food on the
it's
verse.
supposed to be in the Quran.
Yeah,
It's not
but
in the
that
Quran.
is divine editing. I consider that to be divine editing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
So
has-
the Quran
has
is not
made-
complete.
Made it forgotten.
Got it. Quran
is complete. Who says
how's
that
it
it's not?
complete if the verse
There
is
is
not
that-
there?
There is the concept of nasikh
No,
wal mansukh.
brother.
You're
If I
familiar with
picked
it.
up the
That-
Quran
that's
as
part
a
of it.
Westerner and I read it,
Yeah.
right, and I look at it, then there's a verse
Yeah.
that's not there. Unless if I ask a
No,
scholar.
doesn't-
So God
yeah,
says,
so what
Allama
does that have
al-Quran.
to do with anything?
God says,
Yeah,
Allama
I mean-
al-Quran. God teaches the Quran. God taught the Quran, but now you're telling me I have to refer to another human being for him to tell me about my relationship about God? When God
does
sent
the-
you a book.
what does the presence of the hadith on the verses on suckling and stoning has to do with the immutability of the Quran? I mean, if it's edited out, then it's edited out. So
But then
what's the problem
God
there?
had told me to
What we
judge
have
what's in
now-
the book, not outside of the
Yeah.
book. So now you're telling me there's
Yeah, what
things
we
from
have
the
now
book
is- what we
that is
have now-
missing. So the
yeah.
compilation was not complete. God
It
says the
was
book is
edited out.
complete. but you-
I mean, it was edited out. That's it. That's all
Okay.
it means.
So when
It
God
doesn't
says
mean that
about
the Quran
nasikh
was
wa
not
mansukh, you said a beautiful
Yeah.
word, abrogated, right? So God says in regards to
Yes.
abrogation, the verse that you
Yes.
guys love to use about
Yes.
abrogating, God says whatever He abrogates or makes something forgotten, He brings something better than it. So now He abrogated the stoning, as
Yes.
you said, it was taken out from the Quran. Did He bring
Yeah.
something like of
course.
it or better? So what's
Yeah,
the
it's in
equivalent?
It's in the hadith. I mean, it's just because the verse is not available in the Quran doesn't mean that
so-
the ruling is abrogated.
So the
Yeah.
Quran cannot
Yeah.
stand without the hadith.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm
That's
saying
what
that
you're
the hadith
saying.
complements the Quran.
Unless in more
Yeah, you're
words
twisting-
than
you're
less, that's
putting
what
words
you're
into
doing.
my mouth.
But then what are
But
you
you are
saying?
saying that the
That's-
Quran is incomplete.
But brother, that's
You
the
are saying that
conclusion.
the Quran is incomplete.
I'm asking you. Is the Quran?
You're
Can
saying
the
that the
Quran?
Quran is incomplete. Even
I'm
though the
asking you.
Quran
So
is
the
complete
Quran
according to you.
is it complete if I need to rely on something else? You're running
I
away
didn't
from
say
the
anything
answer.
about relying on.
I know you're not
I'm
saying anything because
any-
you know
I'm not-
because you know
I'm
the
not saying
answer.
anything about.
See, God
I didn't
says
say anything about relying on anything else. I said that without the hadith we can't understand the Quran fully, and there's
it
certain
seems like
contexts
I'm
which are
understanding it fine
missing. Yeah,
because God says
Yeah.
that
but that
He.
doesn't make the Quran incomplete or imperfect or anything of the sort. Because the
Okay,
Quran
if
is
I
the word
if
of
I
God.
told you I gave you a complete set, okay, but there's two puzzles of this puzzle
Yeah,
set.
I
Two
gave
of them
you-
are not
I
there.
gave you-
Is it
I
complete
gave
set?
you an example of Surah Al-Abasa. So
Mm-hmm.
without the hadith, how are you going to understand this verse?
Which verse? Abasa wa tawalla.
Yeah,
You see-
yeah. So he frowned and turned away. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
he
who frowned and who turned away?
The prophet. The prophet
And why
turned
he
and
turned away?
because
Yeah,
there was a
why-
blind man.
why
God
did he
God
turn away?
clarifies it in the Quran. Clearly
That is in the
clarifies it.
hadith. Yeah.
No, it isn't.
That is in the hadith.
Abasa wa
That's in the
tawalla
hadith. How
in
do you know
ja'ahu
it was a
al-a'ma.
payment?
God clearly says it. In Ja'ahu al-A'ma, if the blind person came to him.
What's the name of the what's the name of the blind man, and why was he there? And
Oh,
why
okay.
was he
This
asking-
is
why
this
was
is
he, why
this
was the prophet annoyed?
this is the
Yeah, so
difference
you see,
between
these
me and
things
you.
are in the
This is
hadith.
the difference between me and you. The
Exactly,
name of the
because
wives
you
of the
cannot
prophet.
understand this. You cannot understand this verse without
You
the
can.
hadith.
The Quran is complete guidance. So the difference between me and you, I don't need the name of the wives of the prophet. I don't need the name of that person. I don't need to know
You
who
don't need
Ali
the
or
names of
Umar.
the wives
Well,
of the
yeah, I
prophet.
don't need them
But you
because I'm not
mentioned
going to be
Aisha.
asked about.
You mentioned Aisha's name.
Because of your books. Well, one second. I'm not the one who sits there and look at what Aisha said and you do. So I'm using your own book against you and now you're
course I do.
laughing. So that's how funny it is to me as well.
I'm
God didn't
laughing
talk
because
about
you are
Ali or Abu
using
Bakr.
hadiths, and you're relying on Sirah to understand the Quran, but you
Bro,
deny
I
that
didn't.
you're
I didn't.
using
I, the only time I mentioned Aisha is about Aisha saying that the Prophet used to be
Yeah,
sitting
so now you're
down.
saying
That's
so
what
exactly
you
are you
wrote.
saying? You're saying that Aisha wasn't the wife of the Prophet?
That's not
Or
what I'm
Aisha
saying.
is
I'm
not
saying it's
relevant in the
irrelevant
hadith,
to
right?
me as a Muslim, as a person who
there's
submitted.
there's
It's
nobody,
completely
there's nobody
irrelevant
by
to
the
me.
name of Aisha.
That's not what I
So
said. I
Aisha is
said it's
irrelevant to you.
irrelevant to me. Do you understand what
Oh,
I'm
really?
saying? I don't think you get it. That's the problem. God says the people that defend the falsehood, they're deaf, dumb, and blind. That's what the Quran states. So now when I'm telling you about it's irrelevant to me who
okay.
Aisha is, to you all, you don't believe she existed. But that's literally not what I said. So for you to understand the concept.
That's what you are. I mean, I know you don't say it, but that's exactly what you're implying. When
No,
you
that's
deny
not
the
what I'm
hadith, you
implying.
deny
I
the
think you have a
Prophet.
problem in understanding. So what I'm trying to tell you is Aisha,
This
whether her
is
name.
exactly the methodology which Christian polemicists
No, bro.
David Wood and the gang use. Okay, this is exactly how they use.
Bro, what am I telling you?
Islam.
I'm telling you, to me, Aisha is irrelevant. I'm not going to be asked about her on the day of judgment. Are you going to be asked about who Aisha and what she said on the day of judgment?
No, I mean, how could you understand Islam or talk about the Quran
Because
or
Islam
talk
existed
about
before the Prophet. The
verses
Prophet is
without
teaching you
understanding
Islam.
who the Prophet was?
Yeah.
Without understanding who the Prophet was, his wives, the background, his life, the wars that
Listen,
he
man.
undertook, all these things.
Look,
All this comes into play.
the reason why God does not mention the names of his Sahaba except Zayd, he didn't mention the names of the Prophet because
Of
your
course, he
guidance.
doesn't mention any of the
Because
I mean,
he
I
doesn't.
agree,
I'll
of
tell
course,
you
yeah.
why. Because your guidance to God,
yeah.
God is going to ask you how you treated people, how you relationship with God, and if you call them directly, if you were calling people to make the world a better place,
without
if you were,
context.
but if you're gonna sit there and say Aisha said this on the day of judgment, God's gonna say prove it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna call your partners, and you know what God says about people calling their partners on the day of judgment when they have no proof on what they said other than so and so has told me so. And you know what their partner says? Man, I don't know you. I never saw you. I never met you. Bukhari's gonna be like, I don't know you on the day of judgment. That's the problem.
Yeah, you seem fixated on Bukhari and Muslim and you don't seem to realize there are many other hadith collections. I don't just rely on Bukhari
correct.
and Muslim. I also have the Muwatta. I also have
Muwatta Malik.
Sunan
I know it.
Daud,
Yep.
Tirmidhi and all this. So
Correct.
why your fixation on Bukhari?
Because we eliminate something that you guys have a problem in, which is the weak and the da'if and the sahih. So I stick with the sahih. So there is no contradictions, right?
There is a reason why they are called Da'if and Sahih
Right.
and all this
Why?
grading that you mentioned. Yeah.
Why? But Sahih
because
Bukhari and
because we have
Sahih
a
Muslim, there's no discussion in that nonsense.
There is a discussion on Sahih Muslim and Bukhari. I mean, we
In
have
regards to
Al-Batani
da'if?
who has done tarjih on Bukhari, and he has regraded the hadith in Bukhari. Yeah. So some of the hadiths in Sahih Bukhari are also graded da'if. There are some which are graded.
So why don't we have?
Mursal and so on? Yeah.
So why don't we have that
it's always
science
a
for the Quran
ongoing
though?
process. There's always an ongoing. It's always an ongoing process to grade hadith. So I don't know what your fixation with
So
Bukhari
my-
is. Yeah.
So the problem is, if I'm saying that it's something from God and God is telling me that this is my guidance, it has to be clear and concise without contradictions. If someone is sitting here still analyzing,
I'm not saying that you should drop the. I'm not saying that you should drop the Quran and
that's not
and
what I'm
just
saying.
rely on hadith.
The
alone.
question,
That's
the question.
ridiculous.
I'll give you the simple question: Is the hadith from God then?
It's from the messenger. The
So it's not
messenger is
from
guided
God?
by God. That's it.
Is it from God or not? It's simple.
What define what do you mean by God? If you mean
Is it-
revelation from God,
Yeah.
obviously
Is
not.
it
Yeah,
revelation
obviously
from
not.
God?
Yeah. No, it's not revelation, but it's the actions and the words of the prophet who was guided by God.
Okay, but
So are you
now,
saying that the prophet was not guided by God?
no, I'm saying the prophet was guided by God because the Quran clearly shows us what guidance is.
This guidance, this behavior, this pattern
Okay.
of behavior, his speech, his word, his actions,
Right.
everything is
Right.
in the hadiths. So why
but God
shouldn't I
says,
follow? Why shouldn't I follow the prophet?
well, because
Why shouldn't I
following the
follow the
prophet
prophet?
doesn't mean that
You
you
haven't.
need. Following the prophet does
But
not
you
mean.
just said that the prophet was guided by God, and he was the most
Yeah, yeah. But
honorable messenger. So
if
you're
I want to
telling me that I
understand the
shouldn't follow the
guidance,
prophet.
when I'm gonna follow the guidance, am I gonna follow the word of God or I'm gonna follow the word of other men?
I'm going to follow the actions of the
Where
word
is
of
that?
God
Where's the
and His
actions?
messenger.
Where's the actions?
Yeah, yeah, it's in the hadith. Like
So
I've
there's
already
no
mentioned
actions in
before.
the
I mean,
Quran about
yeah,
who the prophet was. So I cannot understand the
not that
morals of the
no
Quran.
specific,
I mean,
no specific actions that I know of. No, definitely no details about his wife or his battles or
that's
how he
not.
spoke, how he
There's no
walked,
details
how he
about
talked.
battles in the Quran.
Yeah, how he ate, how he slept, how he drank. Are all this in the
Uh,
Quran?
so
You see,
that's how you
I need
follow.
to know all this.
That's that.
Yes,
So
that's how I follow the messenger. How he slept, how he drank, how he ate, how he slept, how
mhm.
he interacted with his wives. Why shouldn't I follow the best of men who has ever walked this earth?
You made a claim? Can you prove it?
Is
Why
there
is
a
he the
reason why?
best
Is
man?
there
Why? How is he the best man
Well,
that ever walked?
you just told me that he's the most honorable messenger and that this is in the
I didn't
Quran.
say
So
he's the
why
most
shouldn't I
honorable
follow?
messenger.
So
You
you're
make
telling me that he's not the honorable messenger. So
he's
you're
an
telling me that
honorable
the prophet was
messenger.
not honorable.
You said best and
You
you
just
said
said it.
most.
You just said it's the same thing to
Mensch?
me.
No, it's not the
It's the
same.
same thing to me.
It's about being
It's
critical.
the same
You're
thing.
saying he's the best man. So prove to me where God
Yeah,
said he is the
definitely.
best man. Make a claim and do
Yeah,
it.
definitely. It is in. Let me see now.
Yeah, please.
I think I quoted the verse, didn't I?
No, from God. I don't want the word of man. Tell me from God. Where does God say he is the best man?
Yeah, Surah Al-Azab, chapter 33, verse 21.
Okay.
There has certainly been for you in the messenger of Allah an excellent pattern for
How's
anyone
that
who
makes him
believes
the
Allah
best
and the last
man?
day.
How's that? When
Yeah,
God clearly states in
it
chapter
means he's the
60.
best. Yeah, it means he's the best person to follow. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
So
in
why
chapter.
shouldn't I follow him?
But I feel
Give me
like
a good reason why I shouldn't follow the messenger.
no, I follow the messenger. I just don't copycat him and say that this is what he said when he didn't say that.
I
That's
want
the
to
difference between
copycat
me
him.
and you.
Is it wrong?
But one
Is it
second.
wrong? Let's say if I do
Yes,
want to
it is wrong.
copycat him, is it wrong for me to copycat
Yes,
him?
it is wrong because God says in the
Is it
Quran.
forbidden in the Quran? Can you
Yeah,
show
yeah,
me where in the Quran?
yeah.
where it says
I'm
it's
about to
forbidden?
tell you. One, to rebuke
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
60-40, there's a good example in Abraham. So the same thing was said about Abraham. One. Number two, God says in Surah Al-Jathiyah, تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق فبأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون. These are the verses of God we recite to you in truth. So in what hadith after God and his messengers do they believe in?
In what stories, in what reports? That's all. That's what it means. It doesn't
Okay,
mean
so
the
you're
sunnah.
believing in stories and reports. So we agree. These are stories and reports. It's not the word of God. I'm following God as my messenger, the prophet. He followed God. I'm following God.
You're telling me all stories and reports are false? With what
No, it's not
exception?
needed for Islam. Is my point. I can find Islam without those books and reports, as many people did
Really?
before the prophet. Yes. As many people found what Islam truly is without the Quran even. The Quran is the shortcut to the mentality of how you're supposed to serve your Lord. All these other nonsense, it's sectarianism. And what God says about sectarianism is they're mushriks. وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Do not be of the mushriks. Those who differed in their religion, who became sectarians, الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. And those who split their religions and become sects. The problem with hadith is because you guys have so many other books to judge by, and there's so many different judgments. When the Quran is
That
clear,
is why we have Isnad.
that's why you're mushriks.
That
That's
is why
the
we have
problem.
Isnad. That's why we have Isnad. That's why Kitab al-Rijal, to know
I
which
see.
is false and which is true.
When did the isnad become a standard, by the way?
I don't recall.
It was during the Mutawakkil period, during the time of the Abbasid, which is about 250, 300 years after the Prophet, because they wanted to distinguish between Shia hadith and Sunni hadith. And therefore, they started now to actually start using the Sanad. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that. And that's also evident. And when you go
Because the community was small, it was easy to trace. Yeah,
No,
so,
well,
yeah,
actually,
no
now we're
big
going to go down in the actual history, which I don't think you know. So there's the four madahib because each different city, okay, different cities, there was a hub where they had a small set of hadith, which was not the same in different places, and they all had the
deal. Yeah,
Quran.
different people had different reports.
So that's why the madahib was different. So it wasn't a single unity because they did not rely on just the Quran. And when
Why do
people
we
started,
need unity?
what?
Why do we need unity?
Because God clearly
Why should there be?
because God
why
says
should
that
there
is the
be-
guidance.
wait,
The human
because
race is supposed to be one.
Each place has a different fiqh. Like in Malaysia, for example, we have a different fiqh. We have a different situation.
Right.
Compared to those in Britain, they have a different fiqh.
Yeah.
In UK, sorry, in the US, they have a different
Why?
fiqh. So why should the standard for Malaysia be applied to somewhere else in the UK or in the US? That is why we have fiqh.
So
That
which
is what we
which
have
which is
jurisprudence.
your madhab?
I don't follow any particular madhab.
Okay, so whose sheikh do you, which imam, so you don't, so you're saying, okay, so which school of fiqh do you
But
follow?
mostly, I do mostly follow Shafi'i rulings, but I'm not a
Shafi'i.
Shafi'i
Okay, so
by definition. Yeah.
so what are your thoughts
Yeah.
about Malik, who claims that if you are in ihram during Hajj,
Yeah.
where it's forbidden for
Sure.
you to have sex with your wife
Yeah.
because that takes you out of ihram, but if you have sex with a goat, then that doesn't break your Hajj. Is that what's your thoughts on Imam Malik saying that?
I've never heard of such a ruling from Imam Malik.
Oh, it's not
I
only
have no
Imam
idea
Malik. I think
ruling.
Imam Shafi'i also
Yeah.
agrees with that ruling, that having sex with a goat does not break your fast as well.
I've never heard of any of the imams saying that having sex with a goat is
Because
okay.
that's the problem with these books that you guys keep trying to quote. You have not read all of them and you cherry pick. But I cannot do that in the Quran. As God says in the Quran, do they have books? Do they have
Yeah,
books
you need
that
to
they
give me the
read?
source. You need to give me the source which
Sure.
actually
I
says
will
this.
100%.
There's none of my sources actually
I will
say
show
this.
you right
Yeah.
now. Right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Go
One
ahead.
second. Okay, so I'm looking here. Give me 1 second. Give me one moment. So I will show you right here, copy link, and I will put it in the chat, in a private chat, for you to click and read, and they have the sources for you there, where bestiality does not invalidate Hajj. So here's the link for you, and if you want, you can put it into the crowd. I just don't like people saying that this is legal, because Hajj is something.
I've never heard of this. Honestly, I've never heard of any of the four madhabs saying that the bestiality is permissible.
Because as I gave you the verse, the people of the book hide a lot of what they say and consume, and your scholars do the exact same things. So one, you have to tell me how many Sahih hadiths do I need for me to buy it. By the way,
yeah, I don't think this is talking about this,
keep reading,
this
brother.
ruling that you gave here.
Keep reading, bro. I'm telling you, it literally says that having
it doesn't say that bestiality is permissible. It's just saying that whether
it doesn't break
anyone
ihram.
commits this, So it's just talking about that specific incident, but that doesn't make bestiality permissible.
Well,
Okay?
I'm not saying that it's permissible. I'm saying that it does not break ihram. When God says la jidala wala fusuqa wala rafs, so there is no debating, arguing in Hajj. There is no fusuq. You cannot go and do these kind of fahishats in Hajj, and there's no rafs. There's no sex. So now they're saying that no, sex with wives only, but sex with goats is okay. It's not going to break your ihram. I'm not saying that I'm not saying they're permissible. I'm saying that it does not invalidate your Hajj. Your Hajj is fine if you have sex
so it
with a
doesn't
goat.
break ihram. So what? Yeah. So what's your point?
Where did they get that ruling?
This is
So this is the religion of Islam. Having sex with goats in Mecca is completely fine.
I'm going to have to study this, but this has
Perfect.
nothing whatsoever with
Islam.
with permitting bestiality. Okay, this I mean,
bro, I think you're a little confused.
Allowing for bestiality versus doing bestiality which does not break. I mean, committing bestiality does not break ihram. Are two different matters. Okay?
But then I guess you don't understand what la jidala wala rafa wala fusuqa means.
Yeah. But basically, bestiality is haram, it's forbidden. Yeah, it's not.
So
it's that's just gone over 30 minutes now. That's just gone over 30 minutes.
Okay.
We'll go to the next stage. I think it will be 5 minutes. Let me just remind myself. 5 minutes closing statements, and then we'll be 20 minutes Q&A. I have put the link in the chat. If anybody wants to come on and ask questions, feel free to come on in the 20 minutes. The link has been pinned on my YouTube channel. So you're most welcome to come on and ask questions. All questions have to be based upon the topic. We're not going to go to different directions. Whatever the debaters have mentioned, that's what we're going to that's what they're going to be questioned upon. So no deviation from that. So brother, you'll be first. Let me just get rid of that. Bear with me. The Muslim apologist, I think you are first, isn't it? Or
am I first, or maybe the other brother can do it?
Yeah, I think
he can go first. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I've already gone first for the opening, right?
Sure.
So let
Okay.
him cover the closing. Yeah.
That's fine. All right. So as I was showing to you that many people that claim that they follow Sunnism, they don't actually know what Sunnis, the whole concept of what Sunnah, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is. It's about the consensus and it's about these traditions that they don't have it properly recorded, but they keep trying to give you this whole chain game that it's so bulletproof when there's so many contradictions. Now, the relationship with God is clearly detailed in the Quran for you how to be a good person and not to associate to God what you do not know. And God told you, do not follow and do not stand. وَلَا تَقِفْ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Do not follow what you have no knowledge in. So I know the Quran is from God, and everything else I have to rely on the people of their nonsense to say that these are things from God when they're clearly not. Now God also says that the messenger said on the day of judgment that his people has taken the Quran forsaken. We have just proven that. The brother gave me 2 or 3 verses and he couldn't even back it up with other verses. While I was anything that he was bringing up, I was bringing up verses from the Quran. Because God says, وَمَا يَأْتُوكَ بِمَثَلٍ إِلَّا جِئْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَحْسَنَ تَفْسِيرًا. And whatever they bring you as an example, we have brought you the truth and the best of explanation. So that's one. And God says to the Prophet in chapter 50, verse 45, وَذَكِّرْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مَنْ يَخَافُ وَعِيدٍ. And remind with the Quran who is scared of the appointment. I'm scared to associate things to God. This brother here, he's saying that the hadith is not revelation from God, which shows he doesn't know what Ahlus Sunnah al Jama'ah actually is about, because they will tell you, no, the hadith is revelation from God. And they associate it back to God. And if it's not from God, this is literally what idolatry and shirk is. And not only that, my prayer is for God. I pray to God and I talk to God in my prayer. Yet they, in their prayers, they like to say, وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكَ أَيُّهَا النَّبِي. They start to address the Prophet directly. God says they'll give you in chapter 33, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but that's you asking God to do the pray on him. But for them, they talk to him directly. And then they'll even go as far because of hadith saying that the angels will convey the message and then the Prophet will answer you, which is giving him now the ability to hear all Muslims at the same time, anyone who's sending salam, and to also go as far as replying to them, which makes them what? Close to Jesus at this point to them. So unfortunately, in their own hadith, they say that there is a time where they follow the Christians and the Jews, but the Quran also clearly tells us the same thing, that these people are going to fail because every other community before them fell. Only the people that stuck to the rope of God, not to the rope of God and the rope of other things and other books. No, God gave us a single book. God says that did we give them books for them to study? No. God gave us a book which I'm sufficient with, the Quran. It has helped in all situations, and anyone who argues against the verses of God, مَا لَهُ مِن مَحِيصٍ. There's no exit for him. So it doesn't matter which scholar you bring forth, it doesn't matter which apologetics you guys want to use, the Quran will always 100% beat you, because the Quran never told you to refer to anything other than the Quran. I follow the Prophet. I follow the way of the Prophet. How did the Prophet judge his life and the people around him? With the Quran. So I use what the Prophet used. I'm not following celebrity worship. We do not follow what God didn't tell us to do, and not. We don't follow what God didn't reveal to other people. And simply, the Quran is sufficient for us. So I don't need that other nonsense, because God told me not to trust other nonsense and say that it's religious guidance. So it's no better than the Jews and what they do with the Talmud. That's my 5 minutes. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Okay.
All praise to
It's
God
good.
and peace on them. Okay, so yeah, so in the last minute, ladies and gentlemen, I just do really implore you, if you do believe that Sahih Bukhari is part of Islam, go read it from the beginning to the end. It's 9 times or 10 times longer than what the Quran is, much, much longer. And you will find so many contradictions. You will find so many lies. They tell you about adult breastfeeding, that an old man that is not married to a wife, she can suck on, he can suck on her boobs, and that's permissible. They tell you things about that an adulterer has to be stoned to death, and then apostates need to be put to death. All of these rulings are political. They're socio-political movements that occurred after the blessed prophet. And just like how the Jews failed 50, 100 years after Moses, just like how the Christians failed 50, 100 years after Jesus, the same people, literally in the same area, did the exact same thing after Prophet Muhammad. But God, out of the mercy, right, for his people, left the Quran untouched. He himself said the Quran is immutable. It cannot be changed. But the hadith is flexible. all of a sudden find a hadith that used to be weak and now give it sahih, as they did in the Mutawakkil period, where they say Muawiyah apparently was the Fir'aun of the community. That used to be a very strong hadith, but now it became a weak hadith because people decide, as he said, Sahih Bukhari could be right or wrong. We were waiting 1400 years for people like Albani to come tell us what's right and wrong. So unfortunately, they failed the religion. Islam is much easier than what they try to show you, and God said He did not put difficulty in their religion. They make the religion extremely difficult. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salam wa salawatu ala jami' al-mursaleen.
Okay, 5 minutes to the Muslim apologist. Let me swap over. Okay, as soon as you start speaking, I'll start the clock.
All right. So yeah. So thank you to everyone who has participated in this debate. Thank you especially to my opponent. Although, to be honest, I do admire his zeal for the deen. So that's probably the only positive point that I could say about him. But other than that, I'm afraid that I cannot agree with his position that he's following Islam, because to me he's rejecting the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the prophet whom we believe to be rahmatan lil alamin. This is all from the Quran. And how are we supposed to be honoring the messenger if we do not follow his example? And as a famous hadith from Aisha says, the prophet's akhlaq is, the embodiment of the Quran. So whatever the prophet did, whatever the prophet said, whatever the prophet ate, slept, or whatever that he did throughout his life, these are all based basically from the Quran as well. So if you do not follow the messenger, how are you supposed to be following Islam? And bringing in the messengers of the past, okay, they were Muslims, yes, but again, this does not relate to basically the fundamentals of Islam, which is obeying Allah and obeying the messenger, which I've already quoted from Surah An-Nisa, right? So to summarize, my point is simple. As Muslims, we have been practicing the Quran and the Sunnah for over 1,400 years, and only in the last century along came these people to say that, oh, we cannot rely on the hadiths, we cannot, Bukhari is this, Muslim is that, hadiths are contradictory, fabricated, blah blah blah, therefore we only rely on the Quran alone. But the problem with that position is that how do you rely on the Quran alone? How do you derive fiqh from it? How do you derive the actions and the morals that we are supposed to follow if the Quran doesn't, when I say it doesn't, I mean it does not specify in deep detail on how we are supposed to be emulating or following the directions of the Quran, like the Salah, for example. I've already give the reasons as to how this affects how it affects the rulings concerning the Salah. Okay, if the Quran does mention the 5 times of prayer, then how do you know how many raka'ah are there for each unit of prayer, and how do you know which raka'ah, what numbers of raka'ah are for each times of prayer? So that's just one example, and there's so many examples from from our daily lives which we cannot perform or we cannot do without reliance or without any adherence to the examples of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because if we do not obey the messenger, how can we claim to be following the Quran? Because the messenger Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam relayed the Quran. So another problem which these people seem to forget is that the Prophet was not there just simply to blurt out a message and that's the end of the story. So he just revealed a verse. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just revealed a verse and then the Prophet recited the verse and then that's it. That's the end of the story. We are not supposed to go anything more than that. We are not supposed to follow anything else apart from whatever it is that he blurted out like a parrot. So that's also another concern of mine, which I think these people, these Quran only or anti-hadith folk or whatever it is they want to call themselves believe in. Okay, so all they can do is to point out or to deride Bukhari, Muslim, the Hadith collections. But again, this also shows their, I guess, their narrowness of the mind, because Hadiths are not just limited to Bukhari and Muslim. It also covers a large body of collections, which is not just limited to Bukhari and Muslim. Obviously, of course, Bukhari and Muslim are the most famous collections, but we have more hadiths than that. Okay, so like this, I think there's this hadith collection called the Sahifa of Hammam, if I'm not mistaken. That's also another hadith collection which Muslims have been following and practicing for 1,400 years without any issues until these people come along. And yeah, so my contention with them is that I
That's
don't
time,
feel that
brother.
they're following. Yeah, so okay, so just to wrap everything up, I don't feel that these people should be representing Islam. I think they're coming up with their own religion, and yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. There are a couple of people backstage, but I'm requesting that you have your cameras on. That's a must before you come onto the stage. If you want to put your questions in the chat, of course, you can put them in the chat and then we can bring them forward. But please, when you put them in the chat, make sure you write down who they're addressed for, so we know who to put the question forward to. And okay, and I can see a couple of questions, but I don't know who they're for. So please, when you do write a question in the chat, write down the name of the person who you want it addressed to. But like I said, there are a number of people backstage, but they're not putting their cameras on. If you go to the private chat, I have wrote in there, please put your camera on. Otherwise, you won't be able to. Okay. Okay, Abdullah got that one. So, Muhammad, there's a question for you. We've got about 20 minutes, I'm assuming, for Q&A, and hopefully we'll do a quick one. Will there be a chance for the Muslim apologist to respond to the question, or is it just directly to yourself and you answer it, and that's it, Muhammad?
Whatever you like. I'm cool with anything.
Okay, so what we do, if there's a question, possibly like a minute to reply, and maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds to respond back. How does that sound to both of you?
That's fair. Thank you, man.
Okay.
God bless you.
Okay, no worries. Okay, let me just put this forward. Bear with me.
Sorry, I did want to say one thing really quick. Thank you very much as well, Mens, for your kind words in regards to how I view my religion. So, and thank you for actually taking the opportunity to sit and talk. A lot of people, they try to avoid this debate, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise.
So, Muhammad, there is a question for you from Abdullah. I don't know if you can see it. Can you read it? And then maybe. Yes, go ahead.
So he goes, how do you solve disputes or judgment in society that are not detailed in the Quran? There's always a verse that is going to address what you need to be, whatever is happening. So as you can see that when the different, in many histories, in many people, they always have what they would consider their constitutions, right? Which starts to evolve based upon the leader. So there's some leaders that they would understand the verse in a different way than the person next to them, but the judgment still has to come from the Quran. God clearly states that there is not a single thing that cannot be judged other by the book of God, because God talks about the master book, Kitab, and then the Quran has an example for everything within that master book, or the book that has all the judgments. So your question is actually a no question, because the Quran clearly tells you that it's capable of judging between the people and what they differed in. So if you're looking for exact details, those details even within Sunnism have evolved and changed based upon the society and what is required. But you could do the exact same judgments from the Quran, as God also told the Prophet to judge using the Quran.
The Muslim apologist, do you want to respond to that? You got about 30 seconds or?
Not really. I think this was more for the brother Muhammad rather than for me. But if you ask me as earliest generations of Muslims. Of course, I would refer to the fiqh that is available within the scholarly sources, and also refer to the hadith, the smoking of vape, which is not mentioned anywhere in the Quran or even in the hadiths. Then, of course, we refer to analogical deductions, okay, qiyas, and also ijma by consensus if ijma is not available. Yeah. So these are the things. So basically, the rulings of Islam of fiqh is via four sources, which is the Quran, the hadiths or the Sunnah, and by qiyas and by ijma. So these are the four sources where we derive our jurisprudence forms, and this is what I follow. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Okay, Hassan, can you just wave at me, please? And then you can turn your camera off. Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you for that. I'll be bringing you on next, Hassan. So please, when you come on the stage, introduce yourself, where you're from, and then, of course, who the question is for. So, Hassan, I'm bringing you onto the stage now.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yeah, nice and clear, Hassan.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. So I have a question for the Muslim apologist. So I can see that you understand that there are some problems with the hadith, but I think the only a few reasons that you stick to the hadith is because the primary reason you said that how would you know how you pray without the hadith? I think that's a valid question, but then the answer is also quite simple, that no one ever needed hadith to know how to pray. Like, for example, you never learned how to pray by reading text. I never did. Your father never did. My father never did.
Is this a question or statement, please?
So my question
but you've already come back with the answer. So
no.
Is there a question?
No, yeah, there's a question.
Okay, so put your question forward.
So my question is, so since no one ever needed a hadith how to pray, then why are you putting that as an argument?
Well, I don't really understand the point of your question, really, because when you say my father or my grandfather or my great-great-grandfather pray, okay, and this was passed down towards through generations, where does the source come from? Obviously it came from the traditions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It was taught to them, and they passed that knowledge on to their descendants, okay. And obviously there's always those who do not have that luxury of tradition, like, for example, reverts who have no idea how to pray. So how are they, let's say if they reverted to Islam and they want to learn how to pray, how are they supposed to pray if they cannot rely, or they do not have any sources of examples of prayer? If, let's say, there's no Muslims around them to teach them how to pray, for example. So again, all this is found in the hadith. There are books published by various Islamic publications which teaches you how to pray, and they always in Malaysia, I speak for the books that are published in Malaysia especially. So all these books in Malaysia which teach us how to pray, they always come with hadith references and citations. So
okay, 15 seconds.
So yeah. So again, it's not about traditions, it's about sources, it's about getting your information from the right source, and this is found in the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Okay, so the guy Hassan made a good point in regards to people not actually reading books for a very long time to learning how to pray. But even if you do look at the books that people wrote, there is a much inconsistency, especially about with the Quran. So if you look at hadith, there's hadith that the Prophet didn't say Sami Allahu liman hamida when he came up. This is a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah. Yet you have 8 different chains, different hadiths where the Prophet used to say Allahu Akbar when he stood up instead of Sami Allahu liman hamida. And then the things that they say at the end, Tahiyatul Lillahi wa salawatu salatu wassalam. This is not things that are found in the hadith, especially Allahumma salli ala Ibrahim kama Allahumma salli ala Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim. These are things that were added later, especially because he mentioned Muwatta Malik. Muwatta Malik was writing on what people used to say at the end. And even in Muwatta Malik, there is it would be his grandfather, which is a direct Sahabi of the Prophet. There is a recorded saying of that Sahabi literally saying, what I'm seeing the people do now is nothing of what we did except the adhan. So even the things about the prayer, the things about the traditions and what they're saying, it isn't what the Prophet gave them. It's the little touches and niches and changes that everybody else put themselves in the mix. Now, when you look at the Quran tells you standing, prostrating. The Quran tells you to recite the Quran and to perform the prayer, which that's in performing the prayer. God is telling you the ingredients of the prayer, and you find it in all religious Abrahamic communities where they stand. They will recite the book of God and they will prostrate and they will kneel. These are the steps that are in the Quran. Now, the Quran is not about adad al-rak'at, because even in the
15
hadith,
seconds.
There's many hadith saying that he prayed 2 rak'ats in all of the salahs, and then there's hadith that he's saying that he changed it. But it's about the timing, as the Quran says. It's about the time that you spend in the prayer. It's not a 2-minute rain dance, as some people do, and then go outside the mosque and smoke a cigarette, because the prayer is supposed to stop obscenities and stop obscenities and munkar. So if you're not properly praying, then you're going to have fahsha and munkar.
Question. I think it's actually addressed to the Muslim apologist. Here we are, brother. Can you see the question?
Yeah, I can see it. He says he's asking why is Hajj limited to a few days when the Quran says that you can do it in multiple months. I've not come across any verse in the Quran which says that you can do it in multiple months. And from the example of the Prophet ﷺ, he only did it once in a year. So yeah, there's no record of anyone doing the Hajj multiple times per year. Okay, that probably would cover the Umrah, but not the Hajj. Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at chapter 2, verse 197, Al-Hajju ashhurun ma'lumat. Pilgrimage is known months, not a single month. So during the sacred months, you're allowed to do Hajj. And yes, you only do Hajj once a year. But you have 4 months to perform the Hajj. What ended up happening because of celebrity worship, they want to perform it the exact same time that the Prophet went, which is, they say, Dhul Hijjah, right? But you have 4 months that you're permissible to do the Hajj in, which is clearly mentioned in the Quran. So God says, Al-Hajju ashhurun ma'lumat. Hajj is known months. فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ. So whoever, فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ الْحَجْ. So whoever went towards the Hajj within these months, فَلَا فَرَفْثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. So there is no arguing, there's no debating, and there's no sex in the Hajj. So it's clearly 4 months, but they just take their Hajj from what other people tell them. They say it's 10 days when God in the Quran says it's actually 3 days is Hajj. They say that you have to stone the devil as if the devil is sitting on a rock, which is not found in the Quran. This is actually some idolatry, literally saying that the devil is this stone that we can that we can hit, and that's gonna give away our thing. So a lot of the things that they say does not align with the Quran. As I said, like they say divorce is 3 times when it's twice. They say that sunset is when night begins, when God is telling you when the night begins in the Quran. There's a lot of, they say that the middle prayer is Asr, when yet the night is when is the first prayer. So I don't know how they make that the middle prayer. There's a lot of inconsistencies with that say. So it's a question that is very excellent.
Okay, Brother Mehdi, I don't know if you can hear me. You'll be coming on next. Brother Mehdi, you'll be joining the panel now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do you guys hear me okay?
Nice and clear, brother.
Alhamdulillah. Just I have a little objection before I put my question forward. I feel like maybe the title could do with a bit of an edit, because personally for me, when I read like Quran verses or Quran v something, I think it's like already a lost kind of battle. There's nothing that's equivalent to Quran Kareem. So maybe that's just a little side note. I just wanted to make it put forward a simple question that, let's say in a kind of an apocalyptic scenario, that you had to leave with 1 book, right? Or I'm going to be very gracious and give you guys 2 books. So no doubt you're both going to take Quran Majid. So you're going to take that with you, right? No doubt. 6,236 verses. On point, all of them should be followed. I don't think you guys have any dispute on that. Now, my question is, if you're going to say, let's say, hadith or some other book, it can be even a notebook, a pen, paper. That's also quite useful, right? If you need to take another book, I just want to get a sense that how do you quantify hadith if you're going to put forward hadith, or if you're going to put forward something else? And thank you.
Yeah, who's that addressed to, Brother Mehdi?
Both speakers.
Okay, Muhammad, you can go first, and Brother Muslim Apologist can go second.
Okay, so I think I understood his question. So you can only get one book of hadith that is like there. You can't just say like Quran and hadith. It's like which books that you want to take. So me, if I would go with the option of the Quran and a notebook and a pen. But if I have to take another set of books, I would take the Quran and the Bible.
Well, for me, I don't need to bring the Mus'haf of the Quran with me because I will have it memorized. Okay, so because
Do you have it memorized now?
the Quran is supposed. I would obviously before that particular incident or whatever devastating event that happened, I would get it memorized somehow, right? If I'm only allowed to bring one book with me, right? So I could, hit the rules, so to speak, and I don't need to worry about bringing a book, the Quran, the Mus'haf with me. So obviously I'll get the Quran memorized. So that's one book extra free for me, right? So if I had to choose, I guess what I would do is I would probably bring a small book of the 40 hadith by Imam An-Nawawi, because that to me it's a summary of the ethics of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and
10 seconds.
and that's probably the best. Yeah, and that's probably the easiest choice to make if in a situation like that was mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, there's another question. We can really quick through these. This one's for the Muslim Apologist. I don't know if you can see it. Go ahead.
So he says Quran 6, chapter 6, verse 145 refutes the additional haram foods Sunnis have. How do Sunnis explain Quran 6, 145? Okay, let me bring the verse up because I don't memorize the verses, all right? So Quran 6, 145. Okay, it says here, Surah An-An'am, okay, 145. Say, O Prophet, I do not find in what has been revealed to me anything forbidden to eat except carrion, running blood, swine, which is impure or sinful offering in the name of anything other than God. I don't think I have seen any Sunnis going against this particular ruling, because I'm pretty sure no one has been eating carrion or running blood or swine, and this is also clear in fiqh, where you're not supposed to eat any of these things. So so I don't really understand the point of this question, actually, because we don't practice this as far as I know. Yeah.
Okay, so there are certain things that are considered haram other than what God has considered. There's some certain things in seafood that you guys do not permit, and then there's also certain nuts, I believe, that you said that it's not that is also considered haram to eat.
Yeah, you need to specify which hadith or which fiqh that you are deriving this from, because I may not be familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Any more questions?
Sorry, if you want, I can give you the sources. So there's many people that are like, you just have to put like so there are certain types of water animals which are forbidden, such as crocodiles, frogs, and otters, and turtles. So
Sure.
this is from
Yeah.
again, like Islam.
because they're
QA on info.
amphibious.
So it's haram to
because
eat
they're-
them, right?
Yeah, because it's amphibious.
So you just proved it. There's other things other than haram. Where does it say that
Yeah.
it's haram, bro? You just proved it. Like come
No,
on,
because
bro.
it's amphibious. This is.
Where
this
does it say
is, this is
amphibians
what
are haram to
Yeah.
eat, bro? Like tell
But that being said, there are other madhabs which say that crocodile is allowed. Yeah. So it depends on which fiqh you're following. Yeah.
Bro, it's come on, man. You're
Yeah.
saying there's
Yeah.
madahibs that are saying other foods are forbidden other than what God says, and the verse clearly says that like I
No,
don't
I'm
find anything
saying that
forbidden.
there are foods like, for example, like crocodile meat. There's some madhab, like I think it's Maliki madhab, it allows for crocodile meat to be eaten, but in Shafi'i, crocodile is forbidden. Yeah. So yeah, that depends on which fiqh you're following.
But okay,
And I
so
have
when
no
God
problems with
says I
anyone following
don't,
that.
when God
Okay,
said
guys,
the
guys,
prophet,
guys, guys.
I
I don't
don't
want
find
this to
anything
be
forbidden.
okay. We've got about a minute left. So what I'm going to do now is possibly give everybody, or both of you gentlemen, 2 minutes each for ending remarks, if that's okay, because the time has gone over. And whoever wants to go first, feel free to start your 2 minutes, and I'll restart the clock. Who wants to go first?
Yeah. Muhammad can go first. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So one argument that people always try to give us that this is something that's new, but unfortunately, there's hadith where even Omar saying to the Prophet, like when they asked the Prophet asked for a pen and paper. The Prophet Omar said, "Sufficient for us is the Book of God." So there's that. And then there's no record of Abu Bakr, Omar, Ali, or Uthman, Abu Bakr or Omar in their narrations that they went and made a whole collection of hadith for people when they were the pioneers and there were people who were really focused on delivering the message that the messenger gave them from God. So none of them put concerns, and there's also narrations about Omar banning certain people of saying hadith like Abu Huraira. And they say that this is a new movement as well. But if you look in Al-Shafi'i, he has a debate with people that they say raddu kullu al-akhbar. So the people who rejected all the narrations, which would be the hadith rejectors. And he had polite conversations, and they were existing at the beginning. And now, honestly, I do appreciate everybody coming along for this debate. But the problem with Sunnism is that it's so convoluted, and there's so many madahib and things, and even when you give them a verse clearly telling you that nothing is forbidden except what God has said, they will still say, oh, my scholar's saying this and that scholar. But God's religion is simple. I can eat a crocodile and not go into hell. When you're saying something is forbidden, that means now I took a sin. And now God says who is more unjust than who says lies about God. So unfortunately, a lot of scholars that they consider scholars, they lie. They lie because someone else told them a lie. Similarly, how the Christians, the Jews do. All the Christians think they're saying the truth when they say that Jesus is the Son of God. And when you try to express to them wrong, logically, reasonably, their books, whatever, they sit and argue. And unfortunately, Sunnis do the same things. Sunnis in the last 100 years, they have not really won any proper war. They've been abused. Their countries have been in shambles, the majority of them. And now they're disconnecting from away from the religion only because they do not adhere to God, and they are having
That's
a lot of
fine.
concepts of idolatry and shirk. So God's not giving them the victory. Meanwhile, us Quranists, is what they call
That's
us, we're
2
winning.
minutes.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, 2 minutes to brother the Muslim apologist. As soon as you start speaking, I'll start the timer.
Yeah. So what I want to say is that Islam is simple, and Islam is basically obeying Allah and obeying the messenger. And for the past 1,400 years, we have various fiqh rulings and madhabs, and we don't have a problem with any of of these rulings, or basically any school of thought in Sunni Islam which does something which another school doesn't do doesn't mean that the other school is wrong. It just means that there are differences of opinion, and we respect differences of opinion and diversity in faith and thought. So, for example, like the example that was raised, which is crocodile meat. So in Shafi'i faith, it's disallowed. Okay, it's haram. It's forbidden basically. But in Maliki, because of the understanding of Imam Malik, with regards to life forms in water, and that the Quran says that all sea animals or sea creatures living in the water is halal. Therefore, Imam Malik classified the crocodile as something which is halal as well, because the crocodile comes from the sea. Okay, so it's just a matter of opinion and differences in understanding how these rulings are applied. And there's nothing wrong with the divergence in opinions, as long as you don't use it as a point of contention to disprove the Sunnah, to disprove the Sunni thought, the understanding of the Prophet's actions or jurisprudence altogether. So the problem with Quranists, I think, with Hadith rejectors is that just because they find contradictions or what they think are contradictions within the body of Hadith, they think that automatically everything else is lies and they must be rejected altogether. But that would mean the whole history of Islam falls and the whole
That's 2
concept of
minutes.
Islam falls as well. Yeah. So yeah, to summarize, I don't feel that this approach is something which the Prophet has taught us, and I don't think, and I think this is actually a disservice to Islam itself. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, gentlemen, thank you for organizing this debate. If there's anything else, hopefully I can accommodate in the future. I'll be happy to participate and go along with it. So thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you, and may God guide us all to His mercy and forgiveness, because the goal for us is to be with the Prophet in heaven, and for us to get there, we have to believe in God in the last day and what God tells us to believe, and for us to be really good human beings. And I appreciate your kindness, I appreciate your hospitality, and may God forgive us all and bring us into His mercy and overlook our wrongs and things that we got incorrect. And all praise to God, and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Thank you.
Thank you. The Muslim apologist, final words. Hopefully, if you can limit it to 1 minute, and then we can end the show. Jazakumullah khair.
Yeah, so I thank my host, Brother Muhammad of KOF who has organized this at the last minute request, and I apologize for that, for pushing this onto him so suddenly. But you know, the debate was originally supposed to be hosted on MDD, but for some reason James didn't want to host it, so I decided on a last minute thought I decided to get this hosted here anyways. And to Muhammad from God, thank you for coming on. I mean, we have our differences, but I believe that we are both sincere and we do want what's best for Islam. However, like I've said earlier, I feel that sometimes your approach may actually do more harm than good. And the things that you use, you argue in favor of Quranism or Quran only position could actually harm Islam itself without your realizing it. And this is something which Christian polemicists themselves use. But I guess that's between that affair is, I guess, is between you and God. And yeah, and I'll leave it at that. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, fantastic. There are people in the chat saying they want to debate. If they want to have an opportunity to debate, you can come back there now on private chat. Leave your email address, and hopefully I'll get back to you. And hopefully we can organize and negotiate a future debate. So the stream will be open for about a minute. So quickly jump on and leave your email backstage. Or if you know any of these brothers, send the email to these brothers and then they can forward it to me. So I don't want to keep everybody up because it is quite late now. I think Muhammad is in a different location. The Muslim apologist, I think it's like 2 a.m. in the morning, and it's like 7 p.m. here in the UK, nearly 7 p.m. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate everybody being polite and respectful in the chat. This is what KOF is about. I am kind of like fair, but sometimes I am firm. But nevertheless, thank you to both of you for joining me. And I'm hoping to host more debates in the future, inshallah. So once again, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, and if you ever need a Quran alone debater, now you have my email, brother. And thank you very much. Thank you both, and good night and peace.
Peace. Okay, thanks for watching.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was interesting, but this is usually what ends up happening with the debates of Sunnis. The scholars, they don't want to get close because they understand there's so much for them that they need to sit and defend, okay? But the people that are passionate about their religion, they will try to step up But then they realize that, hey, there's a lot that I don't know. And he once, like, Menj tried to say that this is similar to Christian apologetics. But the Christians that they debate, the majority of them are English speakers, so they can't really dive into the literature like we do. But the Christians versus us cannot survive very long because of the Quran as well. So they're always taking shots at the character of the Prophet. They're always taking shots at Hadith. They're doing similar things that what we do, but we don't associate it to the Prophet. But the Sunnis do. So it makes the Prophet look bad, but it's not true anyways. And we can prove to them that it's not true because the Quran dispels certain notions. You see what I'm saying? But then when you start to show them how they, in their own books, they're doing the same things that the Hadith does about the Prophet. They're trying to bring down the prophets in the Bible and the importance and the respect that they have. So for example, they say that David pushed a guy to war to the front line, so the guy gets killed so he could marry his wife. But God says that David has to judge in truth. So it's very clear that that like a lot of things that they're saying is wrong. They're saying that Aaron built the golden calf that they worshipped, the children of Israel worshipped. But if you look at the Quran, it's saying that it's Samaritan, it's Samari. He's the one who built it. So it wasn't Aaron. Aaron was telling them, boys, don't do this. This is wrong. So it was pretty good. Yeah, this is live. I'm here, guys. Thank you. Unfortunately, Quranisher Islam, he is unprepared, but however much you try to prepare, it is, this is weird, I'm going to say this. It is like a game of chess. And the Quran, you have the full chessboard. And what they have is their king, which is their hadith, and then they have a pawn, which they think is the Quran. And that's all they have. And you have the full chessboard at your play. Why do I say that to them the Quran is the pawn? Because it's a secondary source, even though it's primary. Because they could say whatever they want. We have to look at their actions. So, for example, like a very good question you asked is like, okay, قُلْ مَا, I don't find anything that is forbidden except what God has listed. And then they go, well, seafood is forbidden because God didn't list it, but it's forbidden. It's haram. Okay, but you can't, like, and there's verses I could have said, وَلَا تَصِفُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ هَذَا حَلَالُ وَهَذَا حَرَامُ. Do not, like, let your tongues explain that this is halal, this is haram. افتراء على الله كذب, like you're saying lies about God. So there's a it's, unfortunately, guys, this is how it works. This is how it works. No, Anas Lee John G. I think I don't think he was trying to I think he was talking about the Sunnis. Anas. No, actually, maybe it is about us. Whatever. It is. He's insulting. The Sunniest people make other human beings create other religion, which is Imam Mahdi religion today. What? The Sunniest people? I think he's arguing for us. You have perfectly preserved text, Divan, because if that's not enough for you, you decide to follow what he said, she said of the Prophet. But you don't know if the Prophet said so. You know, the only proof that you have is we have this chain of people. Okay, what if one of them is a liar and you didn't catch the liar? Let's assume. Okay, let's make an assumption, which is an educated assumption, based on a lot of facts, from what they consider facts, that maybe Abu Huraira was a liar. Maybe Aisha in Sahih Bukhari proves that Abu Huraira is a liar. If you're just looking at it technically. Yeah, the majority of their religion comes from Abu Huraira. It's forbidden for them to pray after Asr. And it's forbidden for them to pray in the middle of Fajr. So they pray their 2 rak'ahs in Fajr, then it's forbidden for you to stand in prayer. And God says in the Quran, did you see who forbids someone from praying? So there was so many things that you could bring up where the person does exactly what Menj does. I don't know. I have to go look. And yeah, it does seem incorrect. So they pick the fight, which they cannot fight. Okay, look. So the reason Cove FF was a very hospitable person. It was good. I didn't mean to make it like sound harsh when I tried to stop him from correcting his mistakes. He should correct his mistakes. But he took it the first time. I was agitated, but I kept quiet. But when he started to do it in between every round, and it's like he's now having an agenda. I know, okay, I have to stand up for the truth, and this is not the time for it. I understand that you made an error, but you can correct your error after. He had ample of time at the end. But it's okay. I think we got over it, and he was very hospitable. And now was easy, guys. I don't mean like I mean like the what? It's not forbidden. It's makruh. Anyways, but there was one thing. Well, it was personal, so that's why I didn't want to get to it. He said the question. Mahdi's amazing question. He goes, which books? Which two books? Because now he has to book a book of hadith. But he said, oh, I will have the Quran memorized. So why don't you have it memorized now? Because if you had the Quran memorized now, this debate would have been extremely different. Because you would have been starting to say that there's this, as I was doing. Well, the Quran says this, the Quran says that, there's that verse here, there's that verse there. I have a big portion of the Quran memorized, thank God. Some of it verbatim, some of it I know what it is. So I know exactly where to go look. As you guys see, I've been doing these debates for a long time. Alhamdulillah, bi'izn But was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. At least he, honestly, like props to him. There was no exchange of like terrible words and terrible things, and it's pretty cool. Oh wow, I did get the link, but it went to spam. Oh wow. All right, guys. Who's the NPCs. All right. That was very respectful, alhamdulillah. Props to them. I had to go into like debate tactic mode, where you have to like try to overwhelm, so that you just put the words in, so the guy looks exactly how he needs to look in regards to the intellect. And overall, we did all right. We did good. I wanted to write an opening statement, but then I just winged it, because there's 2 points. You start with the Quran is complete, as God says it's complete. That's your main argument. Then you go to the verse in chapter 6 where it goes that if this wasn't from God, or like, do they not ponder the Quran? If it wasn't from the Quran, from God, it would have a lot of contradictions. Now, he made an error by saying that the hadith is not revelation, which they say it is revelation from God. The majority of Sunnis, they're gonna, like, if a Sunni watches that, they're gonna be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And they're gonna be upset, because they say that hadith is a revelation of God, from God. So they say it's the hikmah from God, right? So what ends up happening is the Quran saying that if it is from God, if it wasn't from God, you'll find a lot of contradictions. So I found a lot of contradictions in hadith, the hadith book. So it's not from God, so I don't need it. End of story. Mr. 11, Muhammad, do you think millions of people who devoted their life to Islam and follow Quran and hadith are wrong? Yes. Do you, Mr. 11, think that millions of people who say that Jesus is the Son of God, all of those people, you think they're wrong? Yeah. The majority of the world will not believe in God except إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. This is what God says in chapter 12. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. The majority of them will not believe in God other than if they are idolaters, associators. So there's little kids playing outside in the hallway. SCP. Yeah, Mahdi, that's one thing I realized. Like when you read a script, no one's really paying attention. But oh yeah, there was a good point I made. I wrote like a lot of things that he said just didn't make sense. They're saying that the Quran is inseparable from the hadith. Therefore, if there is no hadith, then the Quran cannot be fulfilled. Technically, is the conclusion of his statement. At the beginning, he said, peace on the Prophet and all his family. There's no commandments to give peace to all his family, right? And his friends. Salatu wa salamu ala nabi wa ashabihi wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. And his family and his friends, all of them. Well, where do you get that information from? Where does it tell you to say peace to them? On them. He says, obey God and obey the messenger. And then it says, obey the messenger, not the prophet. But I didn't want to get into that debate and argument. A good example, yeah, Abraham is a good example. And then he says that the Quran doesn't talk about the prayer and it doesn't say times of the prayer. It's like, bro, you're reading the Quran. You should know that there are verses in regards to the times of the prayer. So that was really off key. He starts talking about fiqh, but fiqh. But the issue with the fiqh is the history is a little bit different. They didn't have hadith books during the times of the madahibs, right? So there was a lot of issues in regards to what people were considering until they got to a point where like, okay, everybody's right. At the beginning, it's like, no, Abu Hanifa is completely wrong. Whoever follows Abu Hanifa is a kafir. No. Malik was wrong with this stuff. It doesn't matter that he's in Medina. And they used to fight a lot among each other until like some guy came along and was like, you know what? They're all right. like stop arguing. You could do whatever they want. Well, then at that point, all your differences, and you see that they keep saying, well, no, this is right and that is right. Well, you can't be like. Anyways, different hadith. Bukhari, yeah, he quoted a Bukhari hadith, but that he said if it's not from us, it should be rejected. No, it says if someone is judging with a law outside of the book of God, then that law should be rejected. Muhammad, I recently discovered Muhammad Shahrur. I know. Do you know other great minds who challenged? Yeah, so other than Muhammad Shahrur, you have someone called Najib. Not Najib, sorry. Mustafa Kayali. Okay, so you have Mustafa Kayali, Muhammad Shahrur. They are two good newer scholars. Muhammad Shahrur, may God show mercy. He passed away. But saying that a different Quran is a huge lie. And then that's the point. When I say like, hey, the hadith says there's two verses from the Quran that are not in the Quran. So the Quran, the Mus'haf is missing. And he does not want to admit it, but he knows. Yeah, Hassan al-Maliki, Farhan al-Maliki. I forgot about that. Thank you, Epic. Put me on. I want to have a debate with you. I would have to switch my from the StreamYard. I would like to. Let me see. I might spin up a different stream at that point. Unless if I can like piggyback. But I don't think I can piggyback. Live stream. There we go. Yeah, I'll have to create a live stream. What are we debating? I hope you're gonna tell me the world is flat. Yo, Zingo, stop spamming, bro. Oh, kids, man. Ooh. All right. What I can do is, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll carry this on. I will just make a chill stream, but it'll be in StreamYard, so it'll make things easier for us to watch things and whatever. It's all good, Zingo. Alhamdulillah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this broadcast. I'm going to stop the stream and I will spin one really quick on StreamYard so that maybe we can like chill for a little bit and then, or you know what? Yes, I have to do what I said. Okay, I'll be right back on a different stream, not on this video. This video is done. Thank you for tuning in.